Xbox has been genuinely killing it recently with their excellent Xbox Game Pass offerings and a new next-gen console launch that did not share the same supply and demand issues that continue to haunt Sony after releasing the PlayStation 5. A lot of exciting new titles were premiered during the June Xbox Bethesda Showcase, which piqued the interest of even those not primarily Xbox fans like myself, and many of the games announced are being launched as day one releases.
Game Pass has a reputation of being a gaming subscription service that grants subscribers day one access to big titles such as Halo Infinite, the Halo Master Chief Collection, Forza Horizon 5, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Sea of Thieves, Gears 5 and many more, whilst consistently adding great games every month. It is undisputable that Game Pass is certainly value for money.
With so many fantastic looking upcoming titles, we wanted to list what we believe are the top 5 best day one releases coming to Game Pass that you should definitely look out for. With that being said, I'm Heather.
And I'm Craig.
This is Amalgamingle, and let's just jump right in with our first entry.
Although we don't have much information to go on, South of Midnight looks like a title we can all get behind. This third-person action-adventure game is set in the American Deep South, explores urban legend, and is inspired by Southern folklore.
This self-stylised dark folktale for modern times follows female protagonist Hazel, who is called upon to become a magical mender of broken bonds and spirits, known as a weaver, following a disaster in her hometown. As Hazel, players will explore a macabre and fantastical world. We will get to seek out dangerous creatures to confront and subdue using Hazel's newly acquired weaver powers, whilst dealing with personal conflicts in the process.
Driven by a rich narrative with a moody art direction, the experience is going to be what Convulsion Games has described as wide linear, meaning there will be some explorable areas that are gated, so you have to complete the story in that area before moving forward.
The cinematic trailer shown in the Xbox Bethesda Showcase opens with a rendition of blues standard Death Don't Have No Mercy by Gary Davis, being expertly performed by a skeletal guitar player dubbed Shaking Bones. Convulsion Games has already confirmed that music is going to play an important role in the game, and this opening sets a very ominous tone.
Shaking Bones is one of several builders of the universe, known as an Archon, and is clearly inspired by Robert Johnson and comparable to the fairy boatman Charon in Greek mythology. Shaking Bones is soon approached by Hazel, whose laid-back yet bold and fearless personality breaks the established Roadhouse Blues vibe. She is searching for information on the whereabouts of a creature with teeth like knives, however it becomes apparent that Shaking Bones is not necessarily on her side.
He looks at his watch just before the creature reveals itself by rising from the depths, suggesting he anticipated the beast's arrival and provided Hazel with no warning. We then see Hazel preparing for battle as she turns to face the creature, brandishing a summoned weapon of some kind. I'm unsure if this comparison has been already drawn, but I definitely see influences from Kena Bridge of Spirits in terms of Hazel's background and choice of weaponry.
We don't have a launch date yet or any gameplay footage, we can only speculate when it comes to combat, however it would make sense for Hazel to have magical abilities and she seems spunky enough to have melee abilities too. South of Midnight is definitely a game that I'll keep our eyes open for news about because it would be great to see some gameplay. And the Roadhouse Blues already has me intrigued, despite being a boy from the north of England, I love me some blues.
Next up is Clockwork Revolution, a game that is set to provide players with the opportunity to be immersed in a futuristic steampunk take on the Victorian Industrial Revolution set in the vibrant metropolis of Avalon. The world is quite unique since it has been described as aesthetically reminiscent of the past yet distinctly sci-fi. This is reflected in what we are shown in the trailer. The weaponry looks traditional but futuristic at the same time, and the use of flying steam trains, floating blimps and drones and mechs aplenty are seen amidst a backdrop of Victorian era fashion and architecture. It really is quite something.
In-house developer In Exile have described this game as a time-bending first-person action-adventure RPG. Basically, you stumble across an incredible invention that allows you to travel back in time and you discover that historical events have been manipulated in order to mould the present day into what it is. The city of Avalon that you call home has tyrannical undertones and is run with a firm hand by Lady Ironwood, although we do see evidence of rebellion. It is unclear whether or not she is some kind of official leader or if she is unofficially the ruler of the city through criminal means, similar to Prohibition era America.
We don't know much about this game, however it would make sense if it was Lady Ironwood that had altered history to put herself and her goons in a position of power. By travelling back to key moments to alter the course of history, your decisions and interactions have a butterfly effect on the world around you and characters you meet. Things can change and react in unprecedented ways.
Although the idea of a steampunk-infused world and using time manipulation to save the past and protect or change the future is not a new concept, this one does look interesting. The game does give us massive We Happy Few, Bioshock Infinite, Dishonored, Deathloop and even Assassin's Creed Syndicate vibes, but that's not really a reason to hold anything against the game when all we have to go off is the trailer. It is clear that inspiration for different aspects of the game has been derived from a lot of different titles, and that isn't a bad thing. We're going to watch this one with cautious optimism.
Avowed was announced way back in 2020, however the game didn't make it onto our radar until the gameplay trailer dropped at the Xbox Showcase. Considering that I am a big fan of the Outer Worlds, and Craig is a huge fan of games like Fallout, Skyrim and Obsidian's own KOTOR 2, I am surprised that this title didn't pique our interest sooner.
This first-person fantasy action RPG is set in the colourful world of Eora, in the same universe as Pillars of Eternity. Obsidian have claimed that you do not have to have played Pillars before playing Avowed, however Square Enix said the same thing about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, that you don't have to play the original. But you did! The game wasn't kind to newcomers. Aether still has no idea what was going on in that game, so we've been burned before.
I can imagine that, at the very least, Pillars of Eternity players will be able to appreciate Avowed much more, being already familiar with that universe evidenced by the presence of crushable skeletons in the gameplay trailer taken straight from Pillars.
Players become the envoy of Aether. Apologies if I said that wrong, I've never played Pillars of Eternity. Sent to investigate rumours of a spreading soul-corrupting plague by exploring a mysterious island known as the Living Lands. The game is not open world, but it does have large open zones to explore, and is said to be similar in scale to the Outer Worlds. Director Kari Patel has emphasised the focus on companions and stated that the game will tell more confined stories to experience with said companions.
I'm definitely pleased to hear this, since one of the weaker elements of the Outer Worlds for me was the companions themselves. The trailer we were shown makes the game look a lot like Skyrim with guns and seems to offer a spelunking experience using melee weapons, firearms and sorcery in combat. This game is slated for a 2024 release window, but no specific date has been given. Short entry this one, but I am sure that people who are familiar with Pillars would likely have more to say, being able to draw more comparisons. Despite being Pillars virgins, we are both still very excited for this release.
Okay. Let's do it.
Our penultimate entry is Fable, representing the 4th instalment in the Fable series and is intended to serve as a series reboot. This entry has been described as a new beginning for the franchise, which explains the distinct differences we see from previous installments.
At the Xbox Showcase we saw a cinematic trailer showing a photorealistic Richard Iode playing a humble fruit and veg purveyor called Dave, who grouses about the antics of local fantasy heroes. And oh yeah, he's an actual giant, who clearly lives at the top of a beanstalk that the protagonist climbs. That's new.
Giants is something that definitely wasn't in any of the other games, so I'm curious to see what else Playground Games might add to shake things up.
This is awkward.
Yeah.
Now this one is actually close to my heart. The original Xbox version of Fable may very well have been the second RPG I ever played after Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I love the storybook and fairy tale art style, the action-based RPG combat that could let you switch between bladed combat, archery or sorcery. And of course it had brilliant British comedy. Fable 2 was also a blast to play and a game that I loved equally. For whatever reason, I never played Fable 3 and I am tempted to go back since all of them are on Game Pass.
Thankfully, new developers Playground Games have ensured the reboot will retain the trademark British quirk and cherished silly spirits established by Lionhead Games. In the trailer we are shown a female protagonist who demonstrates swordplay and a magic fire-throwing ability and general debauchery in taverns, giving credence to Dave's gripes. Dave seems to be the villain of the piece, which is odd considering how he is portrayed as a level-headed, intelligent and relatable fresh produce trader.
After stumbling upon Dave's home, the unnamed protagonist is relentlessly pursued by Dave, who means her harm, until we see her sitting on top of a giant-sized broken pair of glasses eating a sandwich. The game was announced in 2020 with a teaser trailer, but we haven't been given much information since, so it's nice to know that the game has not been shelved.
There is one thing that I would like to mention, and that is how the female protagonist is suffering from the same ugly scrutiny as Aloy did in Horizon Forbidden West, because she is clearly not designed to be your stereotypical supermodel, but then again, they never have in Fable. Instead, she is homely and more of a realistic woman instead of idealised and sexualised for no reason, and I love that. I think it's brilliant how game developers are beginning to show more realistic portrayals of women in video games.
Personally, I think the leading lady is easy enough on the eyes and has an edge. I personally don't care how a female protagonist looks as long as they are interesting and the game is fun. This whole dispute is so petty and sexist. If you are someone who needs a female protagonist to always be spank material, you are incredibly sad. It's a video game, not a porno. But we're getting off topic. Fable is slated for a 2024 release date, but we don't have an actual definitive date. So I personally think we're looking closer to 2025, but I'm excited for a new Fable nonetheless.
Oh,
But this time, it's not just one world. It's over 1,000 worlds. Because
Our
the
final
choice-
entry probably comes as no surprise to anyone, Starfield. What more can we say about Starfield that has not already been said? This game looks absolutely amazing, and we are both surprised and ecstatic that it's going to be a day one Game Pass release on 6th of September. The game promises a vast explorable universe across the Milky Way galaxy, boasting over 1,000 planets, ship and base building, player-controlled spaceflight and battles, companions and much more.
The customization in this game looks very extensive, and it looks like it's going to be one of those games that could be completely different depending on which class you choose, your decisions and where you go. I don't think we have ever seen a virtual world of this size and scope in all of video game history outside the world of MMOs. We have been waiting for a space exploration game like this for a long time, but I don't think anyone has been brave enough to attempt it. I pray for the success of Starfield, with it being the first brand new IP from Bethesda for a very long time, and the game's success may shift big developers away from bankable remakes and remasters towards riskier new creative IPs.
Even if the game completely bombs, I admire Bethesda for their bravery and the hard work and passion they have clearly put into this game. It speaks volumes that both me and Craig are excited about Starfield, since I am not a big fan of Bethesda games. Not sure why, I guess I've never given them the time they deserve, but Starfield does look incredible. The game is available for pre-install right now on Game Pass, so if you haven't installed it already, then I would get on that.
I can imagine that this game will dominate gamers' lives for years to come, because the best thing about Bethesda games are their ability to stand the test of time. People have already forgotten about Horizon Forbidden West and Stray, but they are still obsessing about playing the Elder Scrolls games and Fallout. And I would know, I'm one of them. So there we have it. There's our picks for 5 of the best day one releases coming to Xbox Game Pass. Are you excited for our picks? What would your 5 picks be? Let us know all that and more in the comments below.
I've been Heather.
And I've been Craig.
This is Amalgamingle, and thanks for watching.